misinformed me about a whole lot of things as it relates to the conversation that G and Ray had. Yeah. And it's kind of clear that you've been lying to this whole group.
About what?
Everything.
The divorce is on pause.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of Potomac, Season 9, Episode 15. And before we get into it, let me just say, I can always give credit where credit is due, and this episode was actually one of the better episodes that we've seen in quite some time. Miss Mia, I'm glad that everybody is finally catching on to the fact that you're a known liar. We see you now on Twitter trying to expose Gordon, and all it's doing is proving that Gordon's been right the whole time, and he's low-key been vindicated because those text messages show that you knew the entire time about where those kids were when you were in Panama. So what are we doing here? And Miss Stacey, I have some choice words for you because that scene with you at the lawyer's office, I said come again. But without further ado, let's just get right on into it because you guys already know that we don't have a minute to spare. So we open this episode up with a few short scenes. We see Ray and Karen, they're playing golf. Now, Ray, can we talk about that parking job? Because you were parked in 2 spaces. And I was just like, well, damn, we have Karen driving drunk and Ray can't park. So now we jump over to Giselle and her daughters out for lunch. And it was cute because Grace was giving her twin sister some advice about what to expect in college. So she starts it off by saying, oh yeah, these guys are so thirsty, so expect that. And then she says, and when it comes to money, between the DoorDash and Uber Eats, it might look a bit rough, but don't worry because God's got you. And I said, girl, that's the same philosophy that I live by, so we're right here. So now we jump to the next scene with Ashley, and Ashley is at this bar called Shakers to go over her drag king performance that's coming up. So she's getting tips and tricks from a legendary drag king named King Molasses. So Ashley says that she's looked up to King Molasses for a long time and she watches their performances on Instagram. And now King Molasses goes on to ask Ashley what prompted her to do this. And Ashley says that she's hosted countless drag shows, and on top of that, as a kid, she was always searching for a creative outlet. She was always doing musicals and plays when she was younger. And she appreciates what drag means to so many people. And I'm not gonna hold you, but production is petty because when they played that montage of all the times that Ashley performed, I had to put it on mute because I didn't want to hear her singing off key like that. And they played that montage for a good minute. And it low-key feels like Ashley is trying to morph into Candace since Candace is no longer on the show. And feel free to tussle with me in the comments, but I said what I said. Listen, y'all, the confessional look with the bob. When was Ashley ever wearing a bob? Now she's hyper-focused on singing and performing. I'm just saying, it's giving a little bit of that copycat energy, but I'm gonna just leave it right there. So now King Molasses is asking Ashley, what does she want her drag king vibe to be? And Ashley says that she wants to tap into her masculine energy and she's feeling like American Psycho. So she wants to be in a suit. She wants her hair slicked back, a mustache. She's trying to give us Wall Street investment banker vibes. You know what I'm saying? I said, now, I don't know how that's gonna work on Ashley, but okay. So they're going over the moves that Ashley can do at her show. And then she says that she's invited all the ladies, including her family, and her new love interest, Josh, aka Jack Harlow. So she goes on to say that if Josh can still be turned on by her dressed as a man, then she's truly met her match. I said, okay, Ashley, whatever you say. Okay, girl, if you like it, I love it. But in all seriousness, though, can we wrap this whole storyline up? Because I'm not really that interested. And it also feels like Ashley had absolutely nothing. So she came up with this, like, well, That's my storyline, me being a drag king. Everything with Ashley always feels so contrived and just so fake. And Ashley's drag king name also feels desperate too. I'm like, girl, you threw that together. You didn't even try. Ash, ton of pussy. I'm like, okay, girl. So now we jump on over to Kiana. She's at her med spa, and we see Giselle walk through the doors, and she says that she's known Kiana for a long time because Kiana and her hairstylist Cal have been friends for a long time. So any friend of Cal is a friend of hers. So it was cute because Giselle was like, oh my gosh, girl, I love your spa. And this is obviously a high rent district. I know that's right. So we see Kiana giving Giselle a tour of her spa. And Kiana, it should not have taken us 15 episodes for us to finally see you at your spa. I feel like for the majority of this season, we've only heard you promote your boyfriend Greg's business. So to finally get a full scene with you at your place of business, I said, well, it's about time. But we should have seen this a lot earlier and not at the tail end. So we see Wendy pull up. Wendy looked cute. That peach ensemble, I was here for it. That color just popped on that chocolate skin. I said, yes, God. So anyhow, before Wendy goes into the spa, she notices that she has a flat tire. So she calls up AAA. She's like, hey, I have a flat tire. I'm here at Kiana Stewart's med spa. I need some help. And they're like, okay, fine, girl, but you do know that your account expired. So she's like, wait, what? Renew it then. Wendy was me in that situation because when I tell you I have no idea about cars, I know how to drive, I drive well, but when it comes to, changing your oil or flat tires or tire pressure, I know nothing about that. I will keep driving. That is not in my wheelhouse. I will call up AAA in a minute. You hear me? So Wendy comes on in. She's like, oh my gosh, I've had such a day. Oh my goodness. So she tells Giselle and Kiana what happened. And Giselle was like, you were still driving? And Wendy says, yeah, I got the notification that my tire pressure was low and I just turned the radio up. I said, girl. Now, I loved how Kiana had a cute spread for them. She had some pastries, some rosé. I said, that is how you greet your guests, especially at your place of business. I was here for it. But anyhow, Kiana starts talking about Greg and how he had a minor dental surgery the other day, so he's recovering from that. So since they're on the topic of Greg, Giselle brings up marriage. She's like, well, I have to ask you, when you guys get married, do you plan on changing your name that's on the door right there? Is it still going to say Kiana Stewart? And Kiana says, oh yeah, that's not going to change. So now Kiana brings up that she actually wants to hyphenate her name, but Greg is not going for it. And now Kiana shares that Greg's told her that he refuses to marry anybody who won't change their name. So Giselle's like, well, how do you feel about that? So Kiana says, well, every time we talk about it, he gets very firm. And then she adds that as long as she can still be Kiana Stewart publicly, she has no issue taking his last name, which is Diggs. So to make things worse, Kiana shares that Greg and her bicker a lot about domestic roles. And Kiana, I just want to stop right here. Every time you talk about your relationship, it just sounds worse and worse. You and Greg are not compatible. A few episodes ago, you said yourself that your values aren't aligned. Every time you talk about this man, I'm shaking my head like, Kiana, are you okay? They showed the clip of him saying that he enjoys bossing you around. Excuse me? It feels like you're walking on eggshells with him. You're always having the same arguments about domestic roles and he wants you in the house, cooking and cleaning. In the words of my girl, Erica De Niro, hey diva, he wants you to be a mattress and a mule. That's what it feels like. Because my God, there does not seem to be any respect in this relationship. And I feel sorry for you because you're so beautiful, you're so vibrant. You should not be putting up with this. Greg should be worshiping the ground that you walk on. He should be scared to lose you. And it seems like you're too scared to lose him. It seems like everything is either Greg's way or it's no way. There's no compromise. Because what do you mean that he's telling you outright that if you don't change your name and drop Stewart, that he won't marry you. He's not open to you hyphenating your name. I mean, that's a red flag right there. And even though Giselle wears me thin with her antics and her BS, she was right when she said he needs to have respect for you and your hustle. And she's correct about that. I don't think that Greg respects you. I don't. The way he treats you, he's treating you like you're some kind of servant that's there to just please him. No, ma'am. If I were you, Kiana, I would say shout out to everybody. I had fun.
Oh! Shout out to everybody. I had fun. I gotta be good.
So they get off of that, and now Giselle says, guys, we need to talk about Karen. So Wendy agrees, and she says, I feel like Karen is going through a lot. It's taking a toll on her in different ways because she looks strikingly different. So now Giselle brings up Karen's weight loss, and she says, you know, I'm worried for her because it's obviously not Ozempic. And Kiana says, well, actually, I do think that it is Ozempic. And Giselle says, no, because I asked her and she said no. So Kiana was like, well, girl, Karen is my girl. We talk, we share beauty secrets. And she told me that she's on that Ozempic. And that's not surprising because everybody's on Ozempic, especially all the housewives. They're all on it. So Karen being on Ozempic would not be a surprise to anybody. But Kiana does clarify that Karen did tell her that she's on something because she's pre-diabetic. So now Wendy points out how tired Karen was on the Panama trip. And Kiana's like, yeah, that's a side effect of Ozempic. It makes you sleepy. I said, baby, not Kiana just spilling all of Karen's business. So Giselle and Wendy are shocked by this tea because they're like, wait, what? Are you serious? So now we cut to Giselle's confessional and she says, here I am thinking that Karen is stressed about going to the clinker for running into a tree, and the whole time she's getting a shot in the butt. But Triple A calls Wendy to let her know that they're there to fix her flat tire. And the guy on the phone, he was a bit flirtatious because she said, okay, thank you so much. I'll be right out. And he was like, okay, you're welcome, love. So Wendy was like, oh, like, you know, where do you work at? And then Giselle was like, child, I want to go see what this man looks like too. And I'm not going to hold you. I really did enjoy this scene with Wendy, Kiana, and Giselle. It really felt like three friends hanging out and not just three co-workers. And Kiana, this was low-key the most camera time you've had since the season started. If you do come back for season 10, which I really don't know, but if Bravo does decide to give you another chance, I really hope that we get more moments like this. And I do want your business to be showcased a lot more. So y'all, we see Ray and Gordon meeting up for lunch. And I was pleasantly surprised by how good this scene actually was. Because my first thoughts were, wait, why do we need to see a solo scene with Uncle Ben and Mr. Brown? I always think about those shirts that Giselle and Robin had at Karen's press conference when Ray had the tax issue, and you have the shirts talking about free Uncle Ben. And Gordon looks just like Mr. Brown from that Tyler Perry show. But they're making pleasantries, talking about the weather. Gordon's talking about when it's hot outside, his big toe starts aching. And then he shares that he has gout. I was like, damn, Gordon, you really are old. Like, damn, gout? Now, I want to check this place out the next time I'm in DC because the menu sounded amazing. Ray orders the shrimp and grits, G orders the Cajun lamb chops, and then they both order a side of honey cornbread. And y'all already knew I couldn't wait to see what that food looked like, okay? Because I said, oh, I need that. So Gordon's asking Ray how he's doing. He's like, oh yeah, I saw what happened with you and Karen. How's everything going with that? And Ray says, we're good. Karen looks great. You would never know that she was in an accident in the first place. And then he says that Karen is confident that she'll be exonerated. Now, Ray, you're a good husband. to really stand beside your wife and all her BS? Because you knew that your wife was shit-faced and had no business behind that wheel. So for you to say that Karen believes that she'll be exonerated, I said, that's wishful thinking because we all saw the footage. That's not happening.
Okay.
I'm Karen.
Montgomery County Police.
I would rather.
I don't like her.
Okay.
So
I'd rather
it's
her
okay.
not do a lot of talking at this point, anyhow, because she's probably a little bit upset
Well, I'm
after
shook. I'm
the
shook.
thing. So she's.
Can I ask you where you're coming from tonight?
Poor wife will just let that shit go. You want to listen?
But good for you for sticking to the script and being by your wife's side and entertaining the lies to not make her look bad. I'll give you 5 points for that. So Ray mentions that Karen bought a new car and Gordon's joking around. He's like, oh, did you buy her that Rolls Royce? So Ray's like, no, I didn't. And then he says, honestly, I feel like I'm controlling less and less as the days go by. And let's be so for real, Ray was not joking when he said that. Karen is definitely calling all the shots in that marriage. She does what she wants to do, when she wants to do it, how she wants to do it, with other people at that, allegedly. And Ray is just there along for the ride, putting up with it, not trying to argue or fuss and fight. And it just is what it is. I wonder if Ray has regrets for not packing up to Florida like he wanted to do a few years ago. I'm sure he probably thinks about that every day. Now, one thing about it, Ray knows how to get some tea out of the other husbands, because the way Gordon was spilling his guts during this lunch, I was like, okay, like I'm here for this. So anyhow, Gordon brings up the co-parenting between him and Mia, and he says we're actually doing a great job with that. So he reveals that he had the kids for 25 days straight in the month of June. Now, I was shocked to hear this. I said, let's hold on for a minute, because for the last 14 episodes, all we've heard about is how Mia has full custody of the kids. She spends all her time with her children. She's mother of the year. And how Gordon is manic, unstable, he's erratic. She's worried about the kids being with him. But yet, that same man who you're trying to villainize, he had the kids for 25 days in June, which means that you only had your kids for 5 days. So I'm confused as to how this man is so unstable, but yet he had the kids for the majority of the month. You've been so busy gallivanting with Ink and Jacqueline and whoever else, but yet you want to sit up there and bash the father of your children when he's been pretty much the sole parent watching over them. What are we doing here? I was so happy that Gordon exposed her for the liar that she is. I said, whack her again.
I'm gonna just scoot on over and let you whack him. Get him again. Get him for me.
And Ray was surprised to hear this too, because he was like, well, that's news to me because I've heard differently. So now Ray starts questioning Gordon about the whole debacle that went down when they were in Panama, with Mia panicking about Gordon taking the kids and she didn't know where they were. So Gordon's like, okay, let's break that down quickly. He says, there were a couple decisions that were being made that I felt were questionable, so I picked up my kids. So now he goes on to add that early into their separation, Mia had the kids around another man, and Ray's like, you mean Ink? And Gordon says, yes, Ink. So now we find out that Gordon was not here for that whatsoever, so he flew to Atlanta to pick his kids up. Ray is so messy, he was trying to get all the tea. He's like, well, I thought that you guys were amicable. So Gordon says, well, it depends on who you ask, and honestly speaking, I don't know him that well to like or dislike him, but what I do know is he's had multiple affairs with my wife. Now, Gordon, I'm with you when it comes to exposing Mia for the liar that she is, but here's where my sympathy stops, because I don't want to hear you cry and whine about how Mia had affairs and stepped out. Because if I recall, in season 7, you were sitting up there showing all 32 teeth laughing and reminiscing about how you were cheating on your previous wife with Mia. Y'all were both cackling about how your previous wife was at home while you were out having sex on the beach with Mia. So not too much, sir. It's all fun and games until it happens to you. While I'm happy that you're calling Mia out for her fraudulent ways, I'm not going to sit up there and extend sympathy about cheating when you were doing the same thing to your previous wife. And also, let's be so for real. Mia was what, in her late 20s when you guys met? You honestly think that she really wanted you? You were already, what, in your late 60s? Like, let's just be so for real right now. You knew what it was. You knew that she was not with you because of your good looks and charm. And now that she's collecting a few coins of her own, she has some notoriety and some fame, she doesn't need you. You were a stepping stone, a building block on the way to getting to where she's always wanted to be. But her end game was never with you, and you knew that. So I don't want to hear you crying about all these affairs and this and that. Stop. Now, when their meals came out, if you guys could have seen my face, I was drooling. Ray's shrimp and grits looked phenomenal. Those Cajun lamb chops, I was like, oh my gosh. I think the name of the restaurant is Miss Toya's. I'll be right there. The next time I'm in DC, I will be right there. I'll be ordering both meals. And it was so cute when Ray stopped the conversation to say grace. I was like, oh, that was so cute to me. I said, I know that's right, Ray.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you.
So Gordon acknowledges that it's a very difficult situation, but what really pissed him off even more was when Ink claimed that Jeremiah was his son. So Gordon said, he's big Gordon, not the little one. Don't play with me, play with somebody else. He says he went to take his son to get swabbed because you don't need the other parent's consent. And come to find out, Jeremiah is his son. I said, thank you, Jesus. Won't he do it? Now we can put this whole sick story to bed. Like I told y'all, I knew that Jeremiah was Gordon's son in the first place. Jeremiah looks just like him. But Gordon says that he waited a few weeks to show Mia the results, but he let her know that, honey, I got him swabbed and that's my son, so let's stop this BS. Ray was shook by the entire conversation because he was like, oh, so it seems like Mia hasn't told anybody? And I said, exactly. Mia, you are beyond low down, thirsty, and pathetic to manufacture a false storyline. You already knew that your son is Gordon's. So why would you sit here for 14 episodes and say otherwise? And before Gordon even outed you in this lunch scene with Ray, we already knew that you were lying because at last year's reunion, you said, I had an IUI, so I know that that boy is Gordon's. Those were the words that came out of your mouth. So how do we go from, I know who my child's father is, to now, this season, I'm unsure. It could be Gordon's, it could be Ink's, and Ink knows 110% that that's his kid? Are you insane? You need help. And this is why I feel like Mia's time is up on this show. Because Gordon single-handedly debunked every single lie that Mia has told us this season. And Bravo, I need to just whack you quickly because I need y'all to stop filming the reunion so early. I wish that you guys would wait maybe a week or two before the finale to film the reunion. You guys film these reunions 7 weeks out. The episodes are still going, and we're not getting the important questions answered. Now, I know we joke about Ray, but Ray is a lot sharper than we give him credit for because he low-key outed Karen's alleged cheating because when he told the story of how when Karen was pregnant with Raven, she told him, oh, by the way, blue eyes or gray eyes run in our family. So Ray said, girl, stop. No, they don't. Don't tell that lie. I said, oh, so blue eyes has been around for quite some time. there was a reason why Ray told that story. It was a way to say, yeah, Gordon, I get it. My wife's been on some BS from the beginning too. Like, we're both dealing with it. And a lot of y'all seem surprised on Twitter about, oh my gosh, Ray just confirmed that she's been cheating. Do you guys remember? It was either last season or season 7. Ray and Karen were out at the nail salon, and Karen jokingly said, Ray, does it bother you that I have eye candy? And Ray said, well, I mean, I understand it as long as you look and don't touch, but just be discreet about it. And Karen just laughed nervously. In my mind, that was Ray's way of telling us, yes, we do have an arrangement. As long as she's discreet about it, it's fine. And Karen was confirming, like, look, that's my man. He's going to stick beside me. I do what I do on the side. He still loves me. It is what it is. Mind your business. But that's what we have going on around here. But I'm not surprised about any of it because they've been talking about it for years. Charisse said it at the season 2 reunion that Karen had a boyfriend. Candace and Ashley even alluded to the streets talking about Karen has a secret side piece out there. So yeah, it's not news and nobody should be surprised. But Gordon says despite all this going on, this whole thing has forced him to be a better person with bipolar. And then he goes on to say that the divorce is low-key on pause because he did broach the idea to Mia about getting some post-marital counseling done and they can just stay separated. Why get divorced? Listen, I know that quite a few of you guys were not here for the husbands having a whole scene, but I didn't mind it. Between the food, the conversation, Gordon outing Mia to be the big liar, spilling some tea that we didn't even know, this was more entertaining than Ashley's scenes. I'll take Ray and Gordon having lunch any day over Ashley or Mia or Jacqueline. No, thank you. But we close out their scene with them ordering some dessert. They have bread pudding and peach cobbler. And I need to go to Miss Toya's the next time I'm in DC, all right? Because the food, the desserts, everything looked and sounded amazing. So Miss Stacey, you really aggravated me in this scene because we see Stacey at a law firm to talk about her divorce with a divorce attorney. Stacey's giving the whole rundown of she was married for 16 years, been separated for 1 year, and she just wants to explore her options because when she went to mediation a few months ago, she realized that there were a lot of things that she did not know anything about. So the attorney starts it off by asking Stacey, what are the top 3 things that she wants out of this divorce? So Stacey says, well, number 1, custody agreement when it comes to Arabella. She'll have Arabella for the whole school year, and then her ex-husband will have Arabella in the summer months. And here's where I was speechless because Stacey goes on to say that her second thing is to waive child support. I said, girl, what? Even the lawyer was shocked. She was like, excuse me, come again? Did I hear you right? So the attorney's asking Stacey if there's a prenup, and Stacey says, nope, no prenup. So now the attorney's like, okay, so what are your salaries like? Are they similar? And Stacey says, no, he makes substantially more than I do. So now the attorney's like, okay, so because of that, why do you want to waive child support? So the attorney's like, well, do you plan on waiving alimony too? And Stacey says, no, I want alimony, just no child support. So Stacey explains her flawed reasoning for waiving child support. She says, well, my soon-to-be ex-husband pays for everything. He takes care of all of Arabella's needs. I don't pay for anything. So I feel like, why do I need child support? So I'm thinking, Stacey, he's taking care of everything for Arabella as a married couple. You guys are about to be divorced. Anything can happen. That man can and most likely will switch up on you like that. So the attorney explains that you still want these things in case of a what if moment. So now she says, what if your soon-to-be ex-husband gets a new partner and that new partner is not here for him giving you money willingly? So Stacey says, oh, that will never happen. I said, Stacey, Are you dumb? There are no guarantees in this life. Just because somebody has always taken care of you in the past does not mean that things can't suddenly change. People can switch up on you like that. That goes for anybody. And also, Stacey, you only know him in the lens of you being married and that being your husband. This man is about to be your ex-husband. So you don't know how he's going to treat you going forward. Use your brain. What are you talking about? He'll never do that. I remember seeing a TikTok comment that said, never say what a man would never do. Because the minute you say that, that man is going to never, like never before. And it's so true. The minute you say what a man would never do, he's going to always embarrass you tenfold. Stacey, you are too grown to be this naive. And I don't even know if it's you being naive or if it's just being stupid. But this ain't it. You need to wake up. So Stacey says that, well, in terms of our daughter, we've both made the decision that he will always take care of her. And that's why I feel confident that he'll always do that. And again, Stacey, you cannot be so confident that a man is going to stick by what he said to you years ago, especially going through a divorce. How many times do you hear about these wealthy, successful men being great providers in the marriage, and then the minute those divorce papers hit, they are the biggest deadbeats, dodging child support, not seeing their children. It happens all the time. You cannot depend on empty words. So the attorney makes it clear that Stacey sounds dumb, and she's like, you want this in writing to ensure that he'll always take care of you and your daughter. Because again, you cannot go off of words and promises, and she's right. So Stacey gets defensive and she says, look, I know what I'm doing. I know my husband. Girl, how do you know your husband, but yet you guys are getting divorced? Is it just me, or does it feel like Stacey still wants to be with her husband? Because I'm surprised that she keeps referring to him as her husband and not her ex. It's just really weird. I don't know. I don't get it. And Stacey, I was confused because you're so confident in your confessionals about what your ex will and won't do, how he'll always have your back and take care of you and Arabella. But then we see you asking the lawyer, how many times have you seen this where a woman believed that her ex-husband would do the right thing and then he switches up on them? And the lawyer even said to you, girl, too many times to count. And if I had $5 every time I heard what you're saying, I'd be on a beach somewhere. Stacey, shouldn't that tell you something? Go for the child support, go for the alimony, get this down in writing. Do not depend on empty words, because nobody's going to have any sympathy for you if he ends up not paying up and then you're crying about your bills being backed up and how your quality of living has been affected. Nobody's going to want to hear it because you were told sound advice. Now, I'm not going to hold you guys. This scene with Giselle going shopping with her daughters for college, it was cute, but it wasn't that interesting. I don't really have any commentary other than cute scene, always love seeing her daughters, and that's about it. But the only thing I'll mention is throughout this scene, Giselle's talking about the importance of generational wealth, and she wants to make sure that they're set. I love that. That's the dream. That's the goal. But I just take issue with how these women treated a certain cast member who's no longer on the show. You talked about Candace like a dog for how she still had financial support from her parents, but yet you, Ashley, and several other women on this cast are setting their kids up for the same success. So it's only okay when you guys pass on generational wealth for your children, but it wasn't okay for Candace to be a beneficiary of parents who worked hard and succeeded. I've never understood this logic of let's bash Candace for still getting help from her parents, but yet we want to do the same thing for our kids. Does that make sense to you? Because it's always confused me. But I'm gonna just leave that right there and we could talk about it in the comments. So now we jump on over to Stacy and TJ actually out on a real date. I said, wait, they're actually out on a rooftop together? Because usually their dates consist of Stacy's apartment where he's making her a frozen pizza out of her own freezer, or it's the gym, or the zoo, which is also free. So to actually see that TJ scraped up $50 to take them both out on a date, wow. Half a point for you, TJ. I'll be nice and say that TJ scraped up $75. Maybe he got 3 acting gigs in a row and he finally was able to splurge. So TJ says that he's happy to hang out because they don't really do this often. And I said, we know, because you're broke. I want TJ to get out of our faces and stop playing with us. That's what I want. But I'm gonna just go along with this story for the sake of the show. But Stacey agrees that this is a treat, and now TJ goes on to ask her, well, why do you think that's the case? So Stacey says, well, it's because I'm not divorced yet. And I said, are you sure it's just that, Stacey? Because again, I think that it's due to a lack of funds on TJ's end, and this is not a real romance. You guys are both trolling us. So Stacey shares that when she came back from Panama, she and her soon-to-be ex-husband had a conversation, and he said that he'd be moving out the house, and he's gonna be moving out in the next couple of days. So did anybody notice how TJ's face lit up when she said that? He was like, oh, well, can I come to your house now? And I said, sir, are you trying to move in? You need a warm place to stay? Is that what it is? Trying to get your foot in the door so that way she can't evict you? It's giving very much, he's looking for 3 hots and a cot. TJ is trying to secure a warm place to lay his head for the winter months. That's all this is. So Stacey says that it's a bit too soon for TJ to be coming to her house. She says that's where her daughter lays her head, and she doesn't feel right about having him in there. So here's where I'm confused, because TJ, you've been playing in Stacey's face with this whole you want to be celibate or abstinent, and you guys are just best friends. But now all of a sudden, you're asking Stacey, why is she hiding you? I said, didn't you say at Karen's Love Lagoon party that you guys were just friends? So how is she hiding you if you guys are only friends? Does this make sense to anybody else? But for me, it feels like we're all getting played, and Stacey and TJ cooked this storyline up, and it's falling apart at the seams. Because one minute you guys are friends, now you guys are lovers? Really? So Stacey's shocked to hear that, and she says, how can you say that? You're my best friend. What can I do to make you not feel that way? I said, oh my gosh. Stacey, in Panama, you said on the Sprinter van that you're not ready for a romantic relationship because you're still not divorced. Now, all of a sudden, that's your man? There better be a lot of questions for Stacey at this reunion too, because I'm not here for any of this. So TJ demands that Stacey tell everybody that they're dating, along with her soon-to-be ex-husband. So Stacey says that she's mourning her old life and how TJ doesn't understand it because he's never been married, doesn't have kids, so he has no idea what she's going through. Now, we talked about this in my Beverly Hills recap, but my parents, especially my dad, always said that a man who hasn't been married yet, no kids past a certain age, like 45 and up, usually that's a big red flag. And there's a reason for that. TJ is pushing 60, never been married, no kids, joking about sleeping with a stuffed animal. Red flags all over. I'm so sorry to tell you. And another reason why I feel like, Stacey, do you have any self-esteem? Because surely there's no way that you're really interested in TJ. And he does not even look interested in you in the least bit. You guys look like 2 good friends. You look like brother and sister or cousins. But I don't see any romantic connection whatsoever. So here's where TJ decides that he wants to give us the performance of his life. And he really brings out his acting skills. He holds Stacey's hand and he says, I think I lose sight of all the things that you're going through, but I've been so patient and understanding. Then he says, if you feel like I'm pressuring you, that's never my intention. And now TJ, brings out the waterworks. I said, he's crying now. Did anybody buy TJ's tears? Because I know I didn't. So now he goes on to say that he has her back, and if she needs him, he's right there, and she'll never be alone. So now they get up and give each other a big hug and kiss. And I said it only took us 15 episodes to finally see you guys share a kiss. But Stacey says that TJ's been waiting all this time, so let's just see what happens. Now again, I have to call out the holes in this story. Because if I remember correctly, Stacey, you were the one in the beginning who was begging TJ for affection and romance and connection. He was the one saying that he was waiting on God and waiting for you guys to get serious in order for him to show that side of him. Now, all of a sudden, it's TJ who's been the one waiting. So now it's the day of Ashley's Drag King performance, and we see Karen about to get ready. So we see her out on the patio with Ray, and she has some clothes with her. So she's telling Ray all about Ashley's Drag King performance and how Ashley asked all the ladies to dress up in a very masculine-inspired outfit. So Karen says, Ray, I went into your closet and I found one of your tuxedo shirts, so I might wear that and some panties. So when I tell you, Ray had me screaming. He was getting so turned on. He was like, oh, well, do you want to wear that for me before you go? And she was like, Ray, stop. I was like, Ray, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but Karen is on her way to wear that for Blue Eyes after. So Ray brings up how Karen's dresses have been very short lately. So she's like, oh baby, I do that for you to get you excited. I said, Karen, stop lying. So now Karen starts asking Ray about his lunch with Gordon the other day, and she wants all the tea. So Ray tells Karen everything. He's like, Gordon told me all about how he had the kids for 25 days in June, and then on top of that, he swabbed Jeremiah, and Jeremiah is his kid. So now he brings up how Mia already knew about that too. So now Ray also spills that the divorce is on pause and that they're going to stay separated. Karen was all of us in this moment. She said, you know what? I'm done. I'm so over it. This is messed up. And Karen, we are all in agreement with you. We are all over this as well. Mia has brought nothing but lies, lies, and more lies to this show. And the saddest part is Mia can't even keep up with her lies. If you're going to be a liar, at least be a good liar. Mia can't even do that correctly. So now we see everybody arriving at the bar for Ashley's Drag King performance, and we have Giselle, Kiana, and Wendy there first. Now, Giselle's outfit, I guess it was giving Drag King. I thought Kiana looked really good, giving very much sexy cowgirl, but that wasn't masculine. Wendy looked good, but that definitely was not masculine Drag King energy. She looked like she was going to another event. So they're asking Kiana how she's doing, and baby, Kiana gives another sad tale about her and Greg. She says that she had a rough day because her and Greg got into a really big argument. So pretty much Greg's not here for Kiana being with this group of women, always being outside. He wants her at home. And I really felt bad when Kiana started crying. I was like, Kiana, this man seems to always have you in tears. You're always upset talking about him. You don't look happy. And it's also annoying because since you bought this house with this man that you're not married to, now you feel like you have to make things work. And that man does not support her at all, because hearing her say that he's upset with her spending time with this group of women, he hates filming, he feels like it's invasive and he doesn't like it. I'm like, your man should be your supporter. He should be cheering you on. And the fact that it just feels so one-sided, she's the one promoting his business and helping him out, and he can't even bother to film. He doesn't like the cameras. He hates that she's on this show. It just does not work. Kiana, please wake up. You guys are not compatible. You guys are not a fit. Stop trying to force this. This man is not happy for you. He's not supportive of you. You're always crying. You seem miserable. It's always on his terms. You want to spend the rest of your life like that? So now we have Karen and Stacey arrive. Then we see Ashley's family there. Her mom, Sheila, Uncle Lump, her aunt, and I think Josh is there too. So anyhow, we now cut to Ashley arriving and she's getting ready. She had her hair slicked back. She has a mustache drawn on. I was like, okay. It is giving very masculine. Let's see what it gives when she puts the outfit on. But I was like, all right, Ashley, it seems like you might be able to pull this off. So now we jump right back to everybody at the table, and we have Giselle and Wendy addressing Karen and how concerned they are since she hasn't been eating or sleeping. So Karen says, I understand why you guys feel that way. It makes sense. And now Giselle interrupts and says, and by the way, Kiana told us the other day that you're on Ozempic. So of course Karen can't be honest. She's like, no, it's not that. My family is full of diabetics and I'm pre-diabetic and I'm not on Ozempic. I'm on a semaglutide, and that's one of the ingredients in Ozempic. I was like, Karen, you're on Ozempic and it's okay, girl. It's no judgment over here. You look good. So Karen insists that she's not trying to get diabetes and it's preventative care. So Wendy had me hollering. She was like, listen, aren't there other ways to prevent diabetes? So now we have Mia and Jacqueline show up, and Jacqueline, that outfit on Jacqueline was not flattering at all. I was like, Jacqueline, you have no sense of style whatsoever. I loved how Karen paid the both of them dust. And now we have Karen pull Giselle to the side and she says, girl, can we talk for a minute? So they go off to the side and Karen's like, look, Ray had lunch with Gordon the other day and Gordon spilled all the tea. Remember in Panama when she was freaking out saying that Gordon wasn't stable? Well, that's not true. And the whole custody thing doesn't exist at all. So now Karen reveals that Gordon took Jeremiah to get swabbed and Gordon is the father. And then on top of that, the divorce is on pause. So Giselle's like, oh my gosh, she's been lying the entire time. I said, yeah, we told you guys that last season that Mia's a liar. And the season before that. So Giselle goes on to say that there are no boundaries with Mia. And I said, well, you're just now realizing that? Because we all told you that Mia had no boundaries back in season 7 when she assaulted Wendy on the Miami trip. But because you were too blinded by your hate for Wendy, you were laughing at her, applauding Mia. But now, 2 seasons later, when Mia talks about your daughters, and you realize that she's a known liar, now it's she has no boundaries. Mia never had boundaries. You're just now catching on to what we picked up a long time ago. So Karen's like, I'm blown away by all this. And Giselle makes it clear that they're going to talk to her about this right now. So they walk back to the table to join the group, and Giselle immediately starts questioning Mia. So she's like, Mia, Karen just told me a bunch of things, and it's been clear that you've been lying to all of us about everything. So Mia's just confused, and now Karen jumps in and says, yeah, your divorce is on pause. So Mia's like, what? Who told you that? So Giselle interjects and says, Mia, you're a known liar. And now Mia gets upset and says, no, I'm not. So they're going back and forth, and Wendy breaks it up and she says, guys, this is Ashley's day. Let's just calm down. You're getting a bit too loud. Let's go outside and settle this. So they all walk outside, and now Mia's yelling at Karen to tell her what she heard. Now, Mia, you told on yourself in this moment that you've been lying because you barely let Karen speak. Karen had to ask you, may I finish? Can I please speak? You were talking over her because you know that every single thing that Gordon said to Ray was the truth. So here goes Mia throwing out some stale shade, and she says, let's talk about your DUIs and your drunk driving and how you F every new dick in town. I said, okay, Mia. Even Giselle said, Mia, we all know that Karen drove into a tree. We all know that she has guys on the side. That's not a read. That's not a jab. We all know it. Let's move on. And Mia, any other time, that could be some decent shade to Karen. But in this conversation, the focus is not on Karen. It's on you. So for you to try to divert attention onto somebody else is not going to work. So Karen's like, you only saw your kids 5 days out the month because Gordon had them for 20 25 days in the month of June. And then on top of that, when we were in Panama, Gordon said that he wanted to pick his kids up because he did not want Ink or anybody else having access to them. So you have Mia denying everything. She's like, no, those are all lies. And now Karen says, and by the way, G told Ray he got Jeremiah swabbed and he is the daddy. And on top of that, he said that he told you weeks ago and you already knew this information. But in Panama, you sat up there trying to act like he's a nut. And Jacqueline, you're really not that bright because you do know that you just aired out your friend accidentally. Because Jacqueline jumps in and reveals that, yes, Mia did know about the whole testing, but she wasn't ready to talk about that yet. I said, girl, what? Jacqueline, just be quiet. You're making things worse. So Giselle's confused and she's like, well, why not? This whole thing was in question for a whole year. So now Jacqueline says, well, it was a home kit anyhow. I said, girl, I don't care if Gordon took Jeremiah to get swabbed at a lab or he did a home kit. Either way, the results came back that Gordon is indeed that boy's father, and that's all that matters. So Mia's getting angry and she says, you know what? I'm not going to sit up here and have this conversation. And now we see Kiana jumping into Mia's defense and she's like, Mia, in all seriousness, I don't think that you should be discussing this. This is too much. So we see Mia walking back inside to the bar. She's angry. And now we see a to be continued flash on our screens. Now, I know it wasn't just me, but I'm going to need Bravo to stop with the constant to be continued and just give us an additional 15 minutes of the episode. But y'all, Gordon did his big one because I was here for all of the lies being exposed. Mia, you should really feel embarrassed that you've been out here making up a complete fabrication for what? Was this worth it to you? To embarrass your family like this? And there's a good chance that you might be off of the show due to your antics. But y'all, this episode was actually decent. And I wish that we had gotten more of this throughout the season and not at the tail end. But again, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed and you already know what to do. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all later. Bye.